on the troll.
Hello and welcome to Mzansi. We're back again. It's that time of the night. We are back and hope that you did miss us. Yes, we are late because we had to first start with yesterday's video. Please watch out for that video. It's coming out. Make sure that you catch up for what happened and we didn't go live. You remember when we didn't go live, we had to do that video because it was missing in action. So, to make sure that you don't lose anything, Emily, it's greetings from my side and whoever is up.
Whoever is
Good
up
for
at
him.
this time, maybe you are doing the night shift or something. But yes, if you manage to miss this one, you can always catch it, the replay in the morning.
Yes.
It's always available. It doesn't go anywhere.
Yes. Let's roll then.
Hi guys, welcome back to the Mzansi Reality YouTube channel. And yes, we are continuing with the order of the day. Like Mr. Anonymous said, part 1 of this will be found in an upload site, the video site, because yesterday we couldn't go live, but we're back now. And let's start with the proceedings of yesterday. Police officer Carol Swanepoel, the former station commander at the Silverton police station, was back on the stand this morning, and he was expected to testify on claims by accused number 1, Moses Bia, that he was, assaulted at the hands of the SAPS there. Yesterday, Advocate Baloyi was busy with the occurrence book from Silverton SAPS 3rd of July 2020 to the 10th of July 2020. And Swanepoel was outlining what the procedure is when a detainee complains of an injury or reports of illness. Swanepoel went through the complaints received from detainees at Silverton SAPS on the 3rd of July 2020 at 0051. Now, this is around 10 minutes or 10 minutes to 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yes.
So that entry was made by Sergeant Mohani, and it said 0507-2020. The charge was possession of illegal ammunition, arrested at home with no injuries or complaints. The next entry was written on the 10th of July, which was on a Friday, 2020. The time was 10 o'clock, and the charge was still for illegal possession of ammunition, the Tembisa case 016 of 2020. He was released at 10 o'clock to go to the magistrate court. Baloyi asked Swanepoel if there was any corresponding entry in the cell register pertaining to the detainee, and Mr. Swanepoel answered that the entry 5 of July 2020, a person of the name Themba Sibia, of which he kept calling him by the surname Sibana, but his name is Themba Sibia, and according to the interpreter, it was written as Sibana on the form. So instead of Sibia. So it seems like the person who was detaining him wrote the surname Sibana instead of Sibia. So detained at Silverton police station on 2020-0703 at 0051. Baloyi asked him to clarify the time of detention, which is 0051, which is 0051, and the time of arrest, which was given by the arresting officer.
Yes.
Baloyi asked yesterday, you have outlined the procedure that must be followed when there's a complaint of an injury by a detainee, and you've referred to the relevant national instructions. Baloyi referred Swanepoel to an entry at 11:20 at night. Swanepoel said that it is an entry that was made on the 3rd of July 2020 at 21:37. So this is 9:37 at night. The report read as follows, and Constable Sibako reported that one male suspect in the cells by the name of Joseph Myanga, charged with possession of stolen property during cell inspection, noticed that his vomiting, immediately contacted emergency services 112. He's complaining of neck pain, and the emergency evidence number was given, end quote. Now, my argument here, Mr. Anonymous, is that all of this was happening inside the cell. How about cases where such things would happen outside of the cells? Where the accused was accompanied by a police officers for something, and the police officers chose not to disclose or tell themselves on the occurrence book that they were torturing and slapping and inflicting harm on a suspect. There's no such an example. That example would have carried more weight than this one of someone who was vomiting in their cell and getting sick in their cell.
Yes.
Because that is obvious. You cannot hide that. You cannot run away from a person falling sick while they're incarcerated.
Yes.
It was an awful example for me. I didn't find it relating or supporting that the accused could have lied about what has happened to them.
Yes.
So Baloyi asked to read an entry at 2320, and Swanepoel said Constable Sebaka did a follow-up of the emergency services on the ambulance requested to emergency services, and they assured him telephonically that they received my call and that any ambulance that was on the way to the police station as requested, end quote. Now Baloyi asked, as you mentioned, this, by the way, an example of what does it illustrate? What is this an example of? And Swanepoel said that according to the national instruction, if somebody's in custody and needs medical attention, the relief commander or the person in the cells must immediately act and contact the necessary emergency services to ensure that the person receives treatment. Well, my opinion, point of view, POV. It's all good and well, sir, but what about a case of someone who was assaulted outside of the holding cells? That would have been more effective to help prove your point, Mr. Baloyi, in your case, because the argument is that all these assault incidents happened outside of the cells and not inside of the cells. So it would have been a bit more beneficial if you could have found an occurrence of such, and a frame of reference where an accused person was assaulted outside of the cells, worse by police officers who were not stationed at that police station, would have been another example that had more weight. It would have been a helpful case study to try and prove that point, that police officers who attended cases of police torture perpetrated by their colleagues were dealt with.
Yeah.
I kind of see what Baloyi was trying to do here. He was trying to prove that police tell on each other whenever there is a case of torture being reported, but could not find a case in that specific police station where such an incident happened. Instead, he showed the case of a detainee who was ill, and the other one who, as opposed to the one who was actually tortured, and the police were dealt with in that case, So Baloyi then continued to ask Colonel Swanepoel, you have been a station commander for 32 years, and you've also been a member of the police for about 41 years. Do you consider yourself sufficiently experienced when it comes to occurrence books and call registers? And Swanepoel said, yes, I do. I make my job to ensure that all the national instructions should be communicated to all the members at the station, as well as to ensure that they also know their national instructions pertaining to detention management.
Yeah.
So Baloyi moved to the record of Friday, the 3rd of July, 2020, and read where it said the prisoner who was booked in by Surgeon Bokhani was received with no injuries, and also when he was booked out of the 10th of July, at the 10th of July, he was, flipping through pages, like looking for papers and files. For me, it was, I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much, but it looked like he couldn't find what he was looking for. It felt like he was wasting time for some weird reason.
It does have that tendency when it comes to Baloyi. And obviously, when he brings these people, he knows very well that there's nothing much to probe on them. And he makes sure that now and then, for me, this is according to me, he's going to be chowing time.
Sure, it felt like that. It felt like it's
which
a drag.
Which is a sign that this case is probably lacking merit it lacks meat that the case would require for it to be regarded as a solid case.
Yeah, and then he continued to say, we have seen that this is a common entry in all occurrence books that have been handed up. Sonepal said, yes, I do. I ensure members understand the national instructions on what to do when there is a complaint for a detainee. And Baloyi read through all the entries, then asked Sonepal what is the integrity of these entries in the occurrence book, and what is the reliability of such entries, and what is the truthfulness of such entries. Sonepal said the entries is made by the members in the cells or the CSC. So the person that makes that entry has legal obligation to make that entry to the correct knowledge that he experienced at that specific time. Instruction 13 of 2019 gives minimum requirements of such an entry that needs to be made by the police members. So all the entries in the police station of the Republic of South Africa will have the same instructions because it's mentioned in the instruction how that entry must be. So Baloyi then asked, what is the status of occurrence books and cell registers? How are they classified? And Sonepal said that the SAPS occurrence book, attendance book, the SAP-14 is used to register official documents, must be kept according to the regulations on the documents.
Yes.
Baloyi asked, is it possible for an officer to cover up an injury of a detainee? And Sonepal said it is possible that a cover-up can happen.
A fair answer.
But the police members can't in the long period cover it up.
We are not sure about that. I think from my position where I'm standing, the power of a person can overrule the whole station. If you know that there is one person, there's one brigadier who's very connected, who's perhaps dealing with the cases such as the Zondo cases, who's got his colors, basically. And that person requires you to do a certain thing. I mean, that thing becomes a mandate. So you cannot say that a mere person who's just a lieutenant can overrule that. And also, if the directives are coming from, I'm making an example where that can be actually not true. If the directives are coming from the bigger offices, where there's a bit of political influence and whatnot, it is difficult to deal with such cases. I mean, who are you to say that you will still continue to report that? It's rare. Because, I mean, this is where your kids eat. And even if you report, you can be made to look like you are crazy. And you are just one person who requires more attention because of certain things. But I'm just trying to paint a picture where that is not true.
So he said that every 12 hours there's a new member on duty. They visit cells every hour and ensure the cell structure is still proper and ensure no injuries to detainees. So Advocate Baloyi is continuing with the narrative that the assault happened in the police cells at Silverton Police Station. He continued to say that, and if there's injuries, he will report it because they can also be held liable if they don't report it with the department. Like he said, an oversight committee that visits police stations. So the members don't cover up for each other. That's what he said. And Baloyi asked, you've placed on record that Sergeant Mohani signed next to the entry. What is the purpose of Sergeant Mohani signing there? And Sonepal said that it is to ensure that the entry that was made is correct with correct information that was received. So it's to confirm that that was the correct information.
Yeah.
Well, Baloyi said, you were at Silverton SAPS for 7 years. Did you know the officers? And Sonepal said, yes. Baloyi asked Advocate Mngomezulu, said that his client, accused number 1, was assaulted by an officer called Ngamani at Silverton Police Station. Did you have a member by that name? And Sonapol said there was no such officer at Silverton with that surname from the period I was there from 2016 to 2023. So Mngomezulu rose to correct his colleague. Okay, he said that he never said, accused number 1 never said that Ngamani was at Silverton SAPS, but worked for intelligence. He was working with Mabena. Baloyi said that it was out on the record at the Tembisa court that accused number 1 said that he was being assaulted at Silverton Police Station. Mngomezulu approached accused number 1, Muzisibia, and returned.
But that done again, it's what is happening here is that you might now look at the defense as the weak defense. No. Baloyi has just said something and put it on record as if it was said by the defense in current case. And upon realizing that is not the case, upon being corrected, he then deviates to the Tembisa courts, where Mngomezulu is not partaking on. And in this court, it was corrected. Now, when you look at the other cases, when it suits the judge and Baloyi, they classify certain dockets with Gininda. They classify those dockets.
Yes.
But the cases that they wish to talk about and bring in their court to justify whatever that they want to do, they bring those cases anytime, any day. I wouldn't say they declassify them, but it seems as if they don't want to ask questions with regards to those things, they tell you the matter is pending.
Yes.
But when they want to bring it to life, they bring it to life anytime. For them, it's tea time. But for you, you have to tread carefully. And that's a problem that we're going to have, because that point is on record. And it is probably in a judge's mind, in that sense that it was said in this sense. It was never corrected, yet it was corrected in the very same court. So the judgment is already looking dubious. It looks, it's going to be one hell of a judgment that ignores what was said in court for the purpose of making whatever that was submitted by the states look good. And that is what we are observing. It's my observation.
That's your opinion, Mr. Anonymous. Everyone is allowed to have an opinion, okay? And if you don't like the opinions, well, siyaxolisa. Well, Mngomezulu then said the police at Silverton SAPS did not assault my client. He confirmed that that's why he requested to be detained in a prison instead of the cells at the police station. Remember that. He even asked to be transferred. Now, why would he ask for that transferring from the prison cells from the cells at the police station to the prison cells?
You see, that is a very valid point. It's a proof that there was something happening, something brewing, that we do not have a name for. And then only a person who, the original, let me say, the person who was affected by the story can tell the story better. And when the person is narrating that story, it is looked at, according to me, with the eyes that are saying that you are already guilty. And that's what you have to look at. And why would a normal sane person say that I fast forward the process of being in jail rather than being on a cell? Because in a cell, I can be accessible to anyone, anytime.
Well, the judge made that condescending comment. Now, I don't like it when he does that, but anyway, he's still continuing to say that he's just suggested that the members of the police randomly assaulted him. And I'm like, Aibo, Can't we beg a ganjanu judge, you know? Why is he trying to imply? What is he trying to imply? I mean, by this gesture alone, you can already see that he does not believe that the accused were assaulted.
Yes.
Can there be more ways for them to prove this assault indeed did take place? Because by the looks of things, the judge is giving the impression that he does not believe them.
You cannot prove something that someone perceives as non-existing. And if in their mind they have made up their own theories, it therefore becomes that their theories against your theory. And at the end of the day, they have the power to tell you that this is how things are going to go. So there's basically nothing you can do. You can just rely on the facts that obviously because of how this case has been handled, you have high chances of appealing and actually getting that appealed in favor of what you are standing for. There are loopholes that are created by a judge that behaves in this manner. So that is the only thing that you can rely on.
They randomly
and you must
assaulted.
report it. And
did it with the hands thing. I'm like, and then
I like the fact that Mngomezulu is intending to actually put a rubber stamp on it, saying that I'm complaining about the judge, the behavior. Even if the judge was to find otherwise, I think in all fairness, they must still report the judge. The behavior was not making matters easier for them. It made it difficult for them to defend their clients.
Well, Mngomezulu said that on the record it appears as SAPD. Then Baloyi read from the charge sheet in the Tembisa court to place that information on the record. Even though it was written by somebody else and not quoted directly from the mouth of the accused, then I wondered if the court transcript for that court appearance was made available because Baloyi was now twisting this to push that argument that did not hold previously, to say that the assault took place inside of the cells at the Silverton police station.
It is worrying that in front of a judge that remembers mostly what the defense has probed on, and this is not only done by Baloyi, even the people who are testifying, coming through the state, they have a tendency, like Gininda, of changing question into a different situation that you do not even understand, or even not only changing the question,
or change the meaning.
The meaning of what was said by the defense.
Yes.
It is worrying that in doing so, the very same judge that looks to correct and tell people that he remembers everything, it never corrects in this situation.
That's what he did with the ATMs. He changed from a place where there was ATMs that did not looked like they were not working to a place where they dump ATMs.
Yes.
And I'm like,
yes. No one talked about the dumped ATM, but they talked about the ATMs that are not working.
yes.
But when it was now looked at deeply by the state, it insinuates that those ATMs were dumped, which is a very different meaning from the ATMs that are not working to ATMs that are dumped. And it started with Gininda when he was explaining that no one can just dump the ATM.
Yes. And then he pushed it and pushed it.
The
to
fact
the last
that
day he
it was
testified.
said at the dumping site, it does not necessarily mean that dumping site. It does not exclude the fact that it could happen that dumping site was it used to have ATMs and then it became dumping site when the ATMs were not working. But it does not necessarily mean that they were dumped there.
The judge allowed it and asked if it's a typed record. Baloyi said that it is a handwritten copy of the charge sheet. So that alone means that the record could have helped in solidifying what was written on that charge sheet. But anyway, we move, okay? So Baloyi mentioned the role played by iPad as far as injuries are concerned of a detainee? How did it play? And Sonnepoel said, as soon as a detainee is injured and he alleged that he was assaulted, he got the right to open a case, and that docket will then be transferred to iPad. They must be informed within 24 hours to ensure that they take over the investigation. And Baloyi eventually was done with his cross-examination. So his examination in chief. Advocate Thulani Mngomezulu started with his cross-examination, and he started by asking, is your evidence that you were elected lieutenant at 1992 and he was promoted in 2006 to a colonel? And does the national instruction also prescribe the formalities or procedure to be followed by members when they are taking a confession? And Sonnepoel said, yes, there's also a national instruction pertaining to confessions, mostly covered in the Criminal Procedure Act. Mngomezulu then asked, but precisely on the national policy for instructions, that guy from the members and when they are taking confessions, do you have such a prescribed format or procedure? And Sonnepoel said, my lord, unfortunately I can't answer that. I'm not that sure of that specific national instructions. But as I said in the beginning, there is instructions for every part of our job in the South African police. So Mngomezulu asked, but you can give an opinion as an officer who has experience of 41 years in relation to the procedure of taking a confession. And the judge laughed in the background. I always pick up those laughs. I don't know why, but I picked them up. And Sonnepoel said, my lord, I've never been in a position where I've had to take a confession. So I can't answer that question because I haven't taken a confession in my 41 years. Mngomezulu asked, the question is that as a person who is competent by law, if asked to take a confession, the judge said, Mr. Mngomezulu, be fair to the witness. We know that if he is a commissioned officer, then he has to be a justice of the peace. Let's not quote, like he threw his hands, in that gesture of impatience again. And by extension of logic, only commissioned officers who are justices of the peace can take confessions. So Mngomezulu asked, as a commissioned officer, if you can be assisted to take a confession, what would be the first thing that you do? And Sonnepoel said, I would firstly look at the criminal procedure, check and make sure that I do it the right way, and also have a look at the national instruction that's available on the internet of the South African Police Service. And I will ensure that before I take the confession, I endure to all the regulations and instructions. Mngomezulu took the witness to the OBN.
So this is a commissioned person?
Yes. He's a commander of a whole police station.
And yet the judge is feeling like the questions are not fair that are coming with regards to what you are trained for. And he is the very same judge that emphasizes that this is an expert. You can ask some of the questions that, even though it was not done by them, but you can ask. And one thing that I must say is that it worries me that this man boasts about 41 years. I mean, we are in 30 years? 30 years of democracy.
Yes.
So this man is a spillover of what we did not want. And those...
He was there.
And those systems, it can be that it cannot be unlearned easily. It cannot be unlearned easily, which is one disappointment that you have to ask yourself first to. Why would you still keep such people when you say we are in a democracy? People who served under non-democratic system. Those people, a simple question is to say, one has to wonder how you were operating during the times when you had to take the commands of the government that was undemocratic. And then you come back now, you are expected to act in a democratic way, as if you just press the switch for someone to be that partial. You don't press a switch for someone to be that partial. And the very same people were using people of no color to actually inflict sometimes pain to people of no color. So it does not, it is not far-fetched to even insinuate that that person can turn a blind eye if a person of no color is being abused by a person of no color. Obviously, it's a political statement if you have to look at it that way, but I don't think there's a reset button that was pressed for this person now to all of a sudden adhere to democracy fully and have a partial mind that look at the certain person in a different way, and perhaps that is a bogusness of this democracy that and all that comes with it.
Was there a refreshers course in 1994? I'm just asking for a friend. Did all the police officers who worked during that time have to go to a reprogramming of the new current times? I'm just asking. So Mngomezulu took the witness to the OB entries, and the date was the 22nd of June 2020. The time was 1500 hours. That's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Prisoner received Sergeant Mohani from National Cold Case Unit in Pretoria handed one male Bongani Sandison Danzi CAS 118 of 6/2020 of unlicensed ammunition without any visible injuries confirmed. The signature of Sergeant Mohani was there, and Mngomezulu asked Swanepoel to go through all the entries that relate to Bongani Ntanzi on the 22nd.
Yeah.
There's a Constable Sohole that was mentioned, and Mukari, they were noted in those entries.
Yes.
And the next entry was on the 24th of June. And Swanepoel said, my lord, in between the 22nd and the 24th, there was self-visit. So in this OB entry that he was reading, there was literally nothing between the 22nd and the 24th. The 23rd in particular had no entries.
Yes.
So Swanepoel was saying that there were self-visits done as well as station visits were done by Lieutenant Colonel Shuping.
Yes.
He also visited.
But yet they are not there.
They're not reflecting there.
Which one should then wonder that why then should we take that as this book of truth, this OB, if it can omit such things?
While Mngomezulu asked if an attorney arrives to consult with a client, must there be an entry on the occurrence book? And Swanepoel said that it is not mentioned in the occurrence book. There is a separate register for that visit. Mngomezulu then asked on the SAP 14, is there any column where you record the visitation by the legal practitioner? And Swanepoel said no. Mngomezulu asked, can that document be made available where you are registering the 9 officials when an attorney visits with the purpose of consulting with the client? And Swanepoel said it is kept in the record storeroom. So I think it can be made available. That's what he said. Mngomezulu then said, so when it comes to the transportation of a suspect, if a member encounters a breakdown while transporting a detainee,
yes,
what is the procedure? And Swanepoel said that the first step that must be taken is to secure the detainee, to ensure that the detainee does not escape or get injured. And the member must take any necessary steps to secure the alternative transport to continue with the transportation of the detainee. Mngomezulu asked, can a member experiencing such a problem, can they use the services of another mechanic other than the mechanic by the government? Then Swanepoel said, according to the South African Police Service, we must use mechanics that are given to the South African Police Service to repair vehicles. All the vehicles must be outsourced in terms of the procurement procedure.
Yes.
If the need arises for emergency repairs and it's not a huge repay and the member can make use of a free service that can assist in repair. Interesting, because from the brigadier, it was like, this is supposed to happen. This is
It
normal.
was made to look like a very simple, straightforward, and we did question that.
And I don't mislead the court.
How can you have access to public transport? I mean, not public transport. Sorry, the cars of a state.
Mechanic.
I mean, here we have AVL, we have all these other things that you would call part of the SAPS intelligence. How can you just give that access to someone coming from outside? It's a very question that needs to be answered. But to show that this case is perhaps not far from the hearts of many people, even maybe those who are political, no one will pick this thing up. To say that we understand then the case, how it's going and whatnot, but we're going to charge you for giving access to the cars that are supposed to be cars of the state, and you gave access to people who are not authorized to touch those cars and even perform a mechanical stuff there. So please, no one is going to do that. No one is going to do that.
Well, Mngomezulu asked, in the case where the vehicle is overheating or there is something wrong with the engine, it's not a minor problem, that one. It must be attended by a mechanic of the government. And Sonapo said, yes, if a vehicle is towed to a government garage, it must be dealt with in procurement process, from that process to the government garage. So Mngomezulu asked, tell me, what is the maximum time for keeping a suspect in the police cells when he's arrested? And Sonapo said, when a person is arrested, he must appear before a magistrate court within 48 hours, or he must be released out of custody by SAP's S328. That is when he's not linked to the charge, and depending on the crime being committed, he can be released by SPS on bail or either a warning.
Yes.
So Mngomezulu asked, if a person is arrested on the docket of murder from KwaNongoma and is detained in Pretoria Muot under case number 16310 of 2018, person in terms of the national instructions, must he be taken to a place where the docket comes from, like KwaNongoma? And Sonapo said the rule is he must appear at the magistrate court in 48 hours. If the time allows for that person to be taken to the police station within that 48 hours, it can be done, but he must appear in the magistrate court before 48 hours expires. So if a person is arrested in Pretoria Muir Police Station and the case is in a different province, and there's no time to take him immediately from that province to the other province, and you can't connect him, he must first appear at the Pretoria Magistrate Court. They will postpone their case so that the magistrate court in a different province, and the person must appear on the date the case has been postponed to, which is very interesting of what happened in terms of accused number 2. I mean, he's never been to KwaNongoma, and yet there are so many dockets and cases that are open against him in the Nongoma case. Did he ever appear at KwaNongoma? Maybe we missed it.
No, he did not. He did not. And the line of questioning when it comes to Mngomezulu's way of doing things, this was the best. He did not follow the steps that Baloyi thought he was going to follow, of perhaps questioning the OB that much and saying that they are not truthful and whatnot. But yet he disproved whatever that Gininda had said as the gospel truth. He used the experience of the 41 years experience to actually solicitate some information that a mere SAPS member would know, more so if they are more experienced. And considering that, after what I said, obviously, that this person has worked and in fact under two systems, then that person is more experienced than Gininda himself.
Raise your hand if you think or believe that Brigadier Gininda was going to say that this is incorrect.
Obvious. It does. It does have those elements when it comes to Gininda. If it doesn't come from him...
Don't mislead.
If it doesn't come from him, then you must know. It probably, and it's against him, he's not going to agree to that.
Then Mngomezulu said, in a situation where the suspect has been booked in Pretoria Moot under the same case number, under the same charge, is now taken to Foslorus Court instead of Nongoma Court. Is it the correct procedure? Baloyi stood to object, saying that it's not fair to ask that question.
Why is it
it's
not fair?
in the correct context because there is another docket they are going to place. Okay, it's a different case docket for the witness to express an opinion without a complete picture. That complete picture needs to be painted. So the Foslorus docket must also be included. So he wanted for Mngomezulu to submit the Foslorus docket as an exhibit.
Into his question, in his questioning, he wanted Mngomezulu to include cases that were struck off the roll.
Oh.
That's what he wanted. And Mngomezulu deliberately said, what happens if those cases then are struck off the roll? Aren't you supposed to let go of that person?
The judge asked that they didn't enroll those cases, and Mngomezulu said that it was not enrolled. Up to now, the illegal substance case has not been placed on record and has not been brought to court. So the judge criticized the magistrate who threw out the case because of jurisdiction and accused them of not knowing the law. Mngomezulu asked Swanepo, by law, both matters were not placed on the roll. By law, the person was supposed to be released. The judge disagreed, saying that Mr. Swanepo was not involved in that matter. He was against Mngomezulu using snippets, and he said that according to the case of Ramavela, he must not allow this type of cross-examination. So he wanted him to also fully place a case that was not on the roll into the record.
Yes, they were found with their pants down. They can't defend the way in which Mngomezulu moved. And I believe in me when I say this. Not in their sleep did they think that, or even dream that Mngomezulu was going to follow that suit like that. They just thought that we are closing the loophole of what could have transpired when these people were in custody, wherever they were. So we're going to bring this person who's going to tell us this, how good the system is. It is even difficult to cover up for people. But Mngomezulu did not follow that trend. In fact, he threw them off because he used that guy to show that the other SAPS guy could be lying.
Mngomezulu decided to put it in a general term by saying that the matter is not placed on the roll after 48 hours. The suspect is supposed to be released. Is that so? And Swanepo said, we hand the suspect at the court and the prosecutor of that court deals with it. Mngomezulu asked, can you keep this suspect if the matter was not placed on the roll or on the dockets that accused was not arrested on? And Swanepo said, if he appeared in court, the court will decide what we do with that detainee. The police can only rearrest the person on another case or evidence if the court permits for us to do so.
Yes.
So it's like you can get released, then get arrested again.
Do you remember we talked about this during Nandi Pa's proceedings?
Yes.
Yes. It is something like that.
So,
but what
this was
matters the
not
most is that there will be a record of this person being let go and
the
being
SAP
arrested.
what?
And
The
then
SAP
there will be a need for that new J50, which is not there.
Mngomezulu then said, in terms of the national instructions, is there any specific definition of torture? And Swanepoel said, yes, there is a national instruction on torture. It's just that I don't have it here, but there's a specific definition on torture if you can give me a minute. And he tried to look for it. He said, I can give you the national instructions that deal with torture in the South African police. 4 persons in custody of the South African Police Service. Now, after a bit of waiting, and a bit of searching, a bit of moment of silence, Swanepoel said that he could not find it.
Oh, definitely you can't.
Very dodgy.
It's okay. It's not even about being dodgy. It was not prepared.
It was not prepared.
Yes. I'm telling you, most of what happened today, it was unscripted.
Mngomezulu then said, if you keep a suspect in solitary confinement, is that not torture in terms of a definition by the national instructions? And Swanepoel said the South African Police Service cells haven't got any solitary confinement. We don't have that facilities at the police station. It's only detention facilities that contain of cell itself and running water and a toilet, as well as exercise area where there is a shower in toilet facilities, as well as running water. Running water and the toilet was very important for Mr. Swanepoel. Guys, don't go to jail, please.
For the sake of comfortability, I mean, they are trying to portray that this was a luxury place.
No, the way he was painting it sounded very wrong. I'm like, it's a jail, okay? It's a jail. There can be 10 of you in one cell, okay? Hot and stuff happening there. So why is he trying to make it seem like it was like a luxurious hotel with so much comfort? And I'm like, this is disturbing. This is disturbing. I don't like how you're trying to sell a jail cell to the public, Mr. Swanepoel. So Baloyi reminded the court that the normal short adjournment is 15 minutes. I get they have been taking longer short adjournments when the brigadier was testifying. So today he was like, it's only 15 minutes.
It became a problem when they realized that actually by bringing this guy, they have opened a can of worms.
Yeah, he's a commissioner of a police station. He's been of 2 police stations in Pretoria. The Silverton one and as well as the Moot one. The Moot one is where accused number 1 is at currently, right? I think. Or he was there at some point. I don't think he's there because they said they moved him to a prison one. So I don't know which one it is, but he has been at Moot as well. So Mngomezulu perused that document up to the 24th of June 2020. And he asked, do you see any records of the 23rd? And Swanepoel said, on the 23rd, there were cell visits, handing in of firearms, etc. There's quite a few entries from the 22nd to the 24th. And then Mngomezulu was finished with his cross-examination, and other counsel had no cross-examination. So Mr. Swanepoel was done, but the judge was not done. The judge had a lot of questions for Mr. Swanepoel. Let's go through them. The judge asked about the committee that regularly visits the prison. asking how many they are on a regular basis. And Mr. Sonnepo answered by saying that it all depends on which committee. For example, the Parliamentary Committee on Policing, they visit the police stations. They differ from place to place. Sometimes it's 5 people, sometimes it's more, and asked if they had access to prisoners or detainees. He said that they have judges that are on the committee that would visit a certain prison, and they are given their freedom to speak to detainees or the accused persons to find out whatever. This is the judge giving us all this information. The committees, they visit the prisons on the regular basis. They visit the police stations on a regular basis to check on inmates, right? And he also said, he also put on record that there are 12 hourly cell visits. So in other words, every day, every hour, there is a police officer or 2 police officers every hour. I could already smell the verdict.
You don't smell it, you know it.
The judgment that's gonna come from. I could smell it. I was like, this is just a formality. The judge said that these inspection cell visits by police, when they speak to the prisoners, they ask them, do you have any complaints, any sickness, any problem? And then they take that in the register. They fill in the register. They take the register and they fill it in. Our parliamentary committee judges, dons. And Sonnepo said, as you visit the cells, you first check if everybody is in the cells, and then ask the people if there's any complaints, and then you fill it in the occurrence book. So I have a problem with this, right? I have never been to jail. But what I have been to, Mr. Anonymous, is a public hospital. And when you would report, I remember there are some instances where I would report about certain things I was feeling. And when the nurse left, I would check whether they had written down what I was complaining about. And in many instances, I would find that some nurses would not fill that in. They would not take my complaints and write them down. So just because someone said something, it does not necessarily mean that it would get filed in my opinion. Yes. So for him to say that if someone complains and says, I have been tortured, and automatically assume that the person who receives
who are these
the
people?
news,
Where do they visit?
Do
they visit the police stations?
They visit the police stations, the judges. I remember those people who were on Besta's case. Do you remember the parliamentary committee?
What happened to Besta?
The people, some of them actually went to the prison in Bangaung and visited it.
Are we talking about what happened to Besta?
But it does not happen on a regular basis.
It's a lie.
I'm making an example.
I think it's a lie.
It's a lie.
From where I come from, there is no such thing.
Maybe let's be fair. Let's ask people who've been in prison and people who've been in jail for a couple of days.
No, I'm telling you, in my small town where I come from, I've never seen such thing. Police station visit.
And you know, when it happened with the Besta, it didn't necessarily happen with Besta. It happened after the news of Besta's escape came out.
Yes.
And when it happened, some people were saying that this does not happen on a regular basis on social media. They were saying it. They were saying that these people do not visit the prisons like that. Not on a regular basis. But the judge saying that they do every week, every hour, every...
There's no truthness in this thing. If the judge himself can just...
They are always there, ready to receive complaints. A whole judge, about judges. We're talking about serious people here. And this person was held in a
police station, not in jail.
Not in a prison.
Not in a prison.
In a police station. So the judge said that when these judges make their inspections and the suspects complain to these committees which come to find the status of the prisoners, whether they were manhandled or tortured or even assaulted. Now he asked Mr. Swanepoel if he's ever heard of anything like that. And Swanepoel said, usually with the visits, we don't go with them. We get the reports. There were cases and instances where people were complaining to committees and even to the police members that guarded the cells at the necessary inquiries. The judge asked if these police were situated in one police station, and Swanepoel said that they visit the South African police stations, from that to specific police stations. So if they don't have any other visits by any other police officers, Swanepoel said it only happens when the district duty officer also visited their cells and he talks to the detainees. Now he puts whatever on the OB entry and makes a report. So as a station commander, he's obliged to read all those reports. So station commander, you read the reports, and one of your police officers in the station that you like or you have a relationship with, and they complain to them and they're like, yo, this one has tortured somebody or slapped somebody. The process is that easy for you to just say you're fired or you need to be dealt with, right? So asked that if he finds that there was any torture or a prison wanted to have a tooth extracted and was not given attention to say that he was needed to go to a dentist, he asked the judge, do you offer any remedial action? And Swanepoel said, according to our disciplinary regulations, we must take actions against the members that don't comply with these instructions. I remember not so long ago, a couple of months ago, accused number 5 was reported to be sick and having stomach problems. Even the court started late on that day and the judge offered to pay for him to get checked. Do you remember that? So before his intervention, it only was brought up because he had to appear in court. If he didn't have to appear in court, would the same steps have been taken? That's the question I have. So the defense had no further cross-examination for Mr. Swanepoel, and the judge asked the defense that they said they wanted this gentleman to bring a book and that they wanted him to come back. Mngomezulu said it's an entry that was made at the Pretoria Moot, and Swanepoel is not stationed there. It's a document that can be pulled, so he does not need to come back. So yeah, it was with regards to that document that he asked him prior that can support the occurrence book with relation to other visits that are happening, especially from the attorneys where they record it, you know. So the state prosecutor, Judge Baloyi, said that he will call the last witness in the trial within a trial, and it will be a dentist tomorrow. So the court adjourned quite early today.
Yes.
It will be tomorrow.
So that would mean we are also adjourning early.
Yeah. Especially because I think a lot of people may not call in.
Yeah, it's late. It's early in the morning. For all fairness, we had to create about 2 videos. The one that you should expect of the day that was missed, and then this one.
And then this one.
Yeah, so that indeed took our time, and we apologize for not having phone calls open. It's because, as you can see, it's in the morning, guys. Honestly speaking, we were covering both so that you don't miss anything. Watch out for the video that is going to come. We are also going to talk about someone that I won't mention the name because we obviously are not watched by only our subscribers. We are also watched by other so-called content creators who create through other creators. So it's important to hide things now. We would tell you, but we cannot tell you.
Yeah, to express something and then someone
next thing
runs
it mushrooms somewhere.
And then you're like, should I do it? Should I not do it? It is a painful process.
But watch out, there's a video coming. Other than the video that's gonna come, that is already there, just waiting to be publicized to you guys. Yes. So just to take few people, Tipuo, thank you. Farai, thank you. Sizwe Mkaka, thank you. Mngomezulu should have asked him how many police have you disciplined in all these years. So that's a very good question.
Yes, that's another question.
As much as Osom Shololo asked the issue of, would canvas that issue of have you ever been charged or have you ever been told that you actually sort of harassed someone, and obviously the Baloyi defended that.
There was no answer for it.
Because it was a difficult situation. Mighty Molefe, thank you for being with us. Also Spa Masuku, thank you. Ned, thank you. And let me see. Tabiso, Daunga, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Mamelo, thank you. Whitstein, thank you. Icon Luciviz, I think, thank you. Tidiso, Teta, thank you. And let me see. Princess Pagati, thank you. Zanele, thank you. Guys, I cannot thank everyone, but yes, Lance M, thank you. Yeah, that's basically it, Emily. I think one is tired and we still need to listen in the morning.
Yeah, in the morning. And by the way,
please like the video.
It's gonna continue, so don't think that we are at the end. Not quite, because they still have to call, the defense has to call their own witnesses. Right.
Harrison M, thank you. Harrison from Swatini. Good to be here. Thank you. Shout out to Swatini people.
Shout out. Swatini.
Joe Monare, thank you. Yeah. Kabelo, thank you. All the way from Botswana.
Botswana.
Yes. In the house. Yes. Yes. Blessing my banner. Thank you, George, John, Onke, Brian, Kwelagiti, Sindiso, Loyal, Zibusiso, Elizabeth, Zinzi, Mrs. K, Mommy, Mo, and then we have Tembelani Kanye, Andiswa Mjigwa membership. Dibuo, Sims Klaba, and Tim Kulu, CN Poga, the first one to comment. Thank you guys for being with us. And yeah, that's basically.
Let's go to bed. Tomorrow is another day of
today. And I still need to drive. Yeah.
Today, actually.
Yes.
Yeah, and safe travels, Mr. Anonymous.
Thank you.
Safe travels.
It's a bye, guys.
Bye, guys.